ain't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, so today's video, I actually want to talk about Deadpool #1, written by Cody Ziegler, with art by Roger Antonio, and color by Guru FX. So, for those who have not been keeping up with Deadpool, this book is just pretty damn interesting just from the jump, because there was a lot of stuff that was set up in the previous run by Alyssa Wong. It was really good. It was a book that I never really covered on a day-to-day basis or, week-to-week basis or whatever, just because there's so much other stuff going on, and yeah, I'm just one dude. All that aside, Deadpool was one of those pleasant surprises that, came up during the, Krakoan era of X-Men comics, because while technically it was a part of the X crop of comics, it really didn't have a whole heap of a lot to do with some of the main major stuff that was going on with the X books around the time of its release throughout most of last year. But one thing I really enjoyed about it was how, while yes, it's a Deadpool book, and while Deadpool at the time was a member of X-Force, it just was doing its own thing. It was cutting its own teeth on something different, like leaning more into a villain who was kind of spun off from a new X-Men villain, which was Harriet Brooms, aka the Harrower, a woman who used to be a member of Horde culture. That previous series also involved Carnage shenanigans. And for those of you picking this book up and you're like, oh my god, Deadpool #1, so crazy. He has this huge dog, this 2-ton giant dog that is just running around doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Where the hell does this come from? And it's funny because that's precisely it. It came from that Alyssa Wong series. The dog, the giant wolf, which initially was more of a hyena in the previous, but just kind of gradually shifted over, I guess, from that run over to this one into more of just a general, like almost wolf, like a dire wolf style of creature. For those wondering what the hell Princess is, the Harrower recently became obsessed with having a symbiote as powerful as Carnage, and she wanted to have one that was loyal to herself, so she implanted a sample of Carnage inside of Deadpool in an effort to create a hybrid of Deadpool and a symbiote, and this would create what would be essentially a symbiote that is virtually impossible to kill. And over the course of that series, Deadpool kind of carried this symbiote in his body almost as if he were pregnant, minus the baby bump. But you kind of saw over the course of the series that the symbiote was evolving and gestating and turning into what it would ultimately become. And while initially a clone of Cletus Cassidy popped out of Deadpool, it was immediately eaten by Princess. That's kind of where all that comes from, and Princess has been hanging around with Deadpool ever since. Princess pretty much sees Deadpool as her father, and the rest is history. When we get to this series, one of the first things you might notice if you did keep up with that Alyssa Wong written Deadpool series is that a character who had became a love interest of Deadpool is no longer around, and that is the character Valentine Wong. She was a brand new character to that Deadpool series, and while it seemed like their relationship was really going places, by the time you get to the end of that Deadpool series, it seems like they are just one big happy family or just riding off into the sunset together. But something has happened between now and then when you get to Cody Ziegler's Deadpool #1 to where their relationship has been dissolved. And it just seems to be based on Deadpool's inner monologue that it was something to do with him and less so with Valentine. So this is one of those deals, you're not going to get an answer to that in this first issue. This issue is largely focused on Deadpool going after a new operation, a new mission with Princess, trying to take out, the typical criminals, bad guys he normally goes after, but also doing it for money. And there's some really awesome shenanigans in it. Cody Ziegler, who is a huge anime and manga head, it's hardly surprising that he puts a Chainsaw Man reference in this comic, but it is no less welcome for it. It is awesome seeing, even having Deadpool pull an Aki Hayakawa in this it's amazing. It's good stuff. Where he essentially summons the Fox Devil, but the Fox Devil is not the Fox Devil, it's just Princess pretty much doing the same thing the Fox Devil typically does. And there's also the trademark Cody Ziegler humor that I have come to love. Funny little jabs where Deadpool says stuff like, yo, you can't blow a guy's back out without saying goodbye after the new villain of the series basically wrecks him. So yeah, it's pretty good stuff. I love it. It's got the humor of Deadpool that you would probably be accustomed to seeing, but I feel like the issue with Deadpool, and kind of the reason why I jump in and out of Deadpool comics so often, is because sometimes, and I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes writers, when they take on this character, sometimes they lean a little too hard into how weird and wild Deadpool is, which can also kind of tend to make him a bit annoying to read sometimes, just like he's a little too extra, which, I mean, yeah, I know that's kind of part of his character, but like some people really dial it up too far. I feel like Cody Ziegler has the right amount of Deadpool shenanigans in this. I'm curious to see how consistent he is with it going forward, but I have a pretty good feeling that, you know, this is not going to be something that's going to be an issue. Cody Ziegler writing this book. The art in it is fantastic. Roge Antonio's great as per usual. So yeah, if you ever kept up with the more recent Carnage series or some issues of X-Men Red, you've likely already seen his art. You are probably already pretty accustomed to it. You know this guy can deliver. So yeah, there's nothing really crazy there. Colors are fantastic as well. Guru FX typically always does a great job with colors, so there's no issue there either. This book starts off with a great little punch, and the new villain, Death's Grip, seems interesting. Not really sure what their angle is yet, but I mean, once again, we don't really see them very much in this issue. Death's Grip seems very interested in fighting Deadpool. Like, it almost kind of reminds me of the Cowboy Bebop movie, Knocking on Heaven's Door. This character gives me Vincent Villaggio vibes, just based on kind of some of the things that he says, like what he seems to want from Deadpool. He makes a mention about how when fighting Deadpool that, at first he thought that Deadpool was, not worthy of his name, that, this guy, he's, I thought you'd be tougher, which is kind of funny considering that, that we just had an Invincible episode come out titled, I Thought You Would Be Stronger. But, but yeah, it's funny to kind of see this play out because, you realize pretty quickly that this guy seems very interested in Deadpool now because he realizes Deadpool doesn't die easy. And it seems like he's hoping maybe that someone's able to him. It's hard to say, but you never know sometimes. But I feel like that's kind of where this is going. But right now, Deadpool so far off to a fantastic start. Cody Ziegler's got this thing on lock. So yeah, here's hoping that this lasts more than 5 issues. You guessed it, obligatory channel outro time. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. Clicking that subscribe button and tapping that notification bell ensures that you get more videos just like this one, and you don't miss any of my other content that I drop throughout the week, plus my live streams every Thursday and Saturday. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you click that like button, keep it plus ultra, and sound off in the comments.